All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. August 3rd, we got ourselves a Thursday, a slightly smaller than usual MLB slate. But like always, we're gonna go through each and every game on today's slate. We'll give you my lean or leans on the games, but all my final plays, those will be in the pinned comment. And speaking of final plays, yesterday, our final recap here. We got the dustpan. One of the worst nights in not even recent history, in history on the channel. Everything we touched turned into, what's the opposite of gold? Crap. It was bad. So we don't even secure a single dub last night. In fact, one more womp womp. But we are here to talk about, you know, and own it and that type of thing. And I do want to address a couple things. And I guess it's for all the guppies out there because we're getting tons and tons of comments. First and foremost, the easy one is a bunch of comments from yesterday being like, why would you ever follow this guy? His advice stinks. Don't just bet his picks. And it's like, sure, like that's fine advice. If you want to take what I'm saying in the videos, I still encourage you to do your own research. One, right? I'm not telling you to blindly follow my picks. In fact, I wear a shirt that says fade me in every video, okay? So that's fine. But also in that line, it's like, this guy stinks, you're never gonna win. It's like, I will say the proof is in the pudding. Go back. I encourage you, you big guppy. Go back and guppies. Go back and look at every single video. We track every single plays, every single one of our plays in the pinned comments. We're up, I think what did I say in the last video? I think it was just around 16 units on the season, halfway through the year. Like, we'll take that any day of the week, okay? So the proof's in the pudding that we don't just lose, even though we do say fade me. And then I saw a really good reply to a couple hate comments, and it was a good one. It was like, hey, like, you can't just follow, because the comment was, hey, I've been following you for 3 days, you only made money in one of them. And I'm like, okay, happened to be our 6 and 2 night, which kind of covered for all of these. But a reply came in and be like, that's like asking, walking up to a comedian and saying, hey, tell me a joke. And it's like, they can't just think of a joke really funny, right? You got to look at the body of work in the grand scheme of things, which is why I'm comfortable owning the losses on the channel. Over time, this is a long-term thing. That's where we're beating the books. That's where we're profitable. If you want to watch one video and I have a bad night, all right, go ahead, rag on me in the comments. Helps the engagement, helps the algorithm, but you got to realize that this is a long-term thing. So you should, one, be tuning in for more reasons than just scrolling down and finding my final plays. I mean that honestly. We're waking up super early, doing these videos, putting in a lot of work. I hope that we're building a community, entertaining at the same time, all that, right? So you should be wanting to do that, but also, like, you got to understand that you should be doing your own research. I'm a dum-dum. I'm a dummy. You should be doing your own research. So if there's anything you guys can take from yesterday, is that if you did just walk into yesterday's video, follow blindly, we sucked, right? So that's where you should be like, okay, maybe I do need to put in some effort on my end, right? Because I'm not going to go and lose every single pick that I throw out there, but maybe you could take what I say and you like something, you don't, blah, blah, blah. It's still ultimately you pushing that place bet button. So I want you guys to empower yourselves to place the bets and not blame me for my own losses. Basically, like, you're taking the losses as well. It's like, no, I can own my own losses. I'm not going to own your losses, though, you know? So hopefully you guys do enjoy today's video and we do bounce back. I did want to get that rant out there. Hopefully it's not, too crazy or too boring, I guess. But yeah, it was a bad night. I'm here to own it. Never going to, face the losses and go running away and not make a video or make excuses. No, we sucked. I'm not even going to talk about each and every one of them because we had plenty of ones that I could be like, oh, it should have hit. No, they all lost. They all lost. Let's go ahead and get into today's game. Guys, if you do still support after a horrific night last night, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. And on a brighter note here, we do have a nice little ride of the day that cashes. So let's turn the mood and the energy around here. Automan comes in with Austin Riley over 1.5 total bases. He said it was a lock. It was a lock. He sends one over the wall. So shout out to Automan there. At least we secure one dub from the ride of the day yesterday. If you do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day in the comments. I'm jumping on board with one person's pick, putting my money where your mouth is, and then I will give you guys a shout out in the next video, win or loss. And see, I'm comfortable being like, you know what, win or loss. It's not this big like, hey, if I'm the ride of the day, I'm not gonna hate the ride of the day if it doesn't cash, right? Like, I'm ultimately choosing which one I pick. Like, it's on me if I ride with you guys and it loses. Just as much it's on you if you ride with me. So ride of the day might be a perfect example of like, yeah, when we lose together. either. It's not necessarily like a, how could you lose? And then I, blow you up on the show type of thing. No. So use hashtag ride of the day in the comments if you guys do want a chance to be shouted out in tomorrow's video. But enough ranting, guys, enough rambling, enough of me going off. In fact, I said that to a few commenters yesterday. They were like ragging on it. I'm just like, go off, King. Like, get your feelings out there. But we got Miami taking on Philadelphia in this one. This is one of our final plays. Yesterday, Philly does not come through, even though they held a decent lead for the majority of that game. I would even, in fact, say Zach Wheeler did his job like we thought he would. But, late game theatrics end in a Phillies loss there. But in terms of what we're looking at here, Miami is the underdog, plus 116 right now on the money line. Total is sitting at 8.5. In terms of who's pitching here, we got Johnny Cueto on the mound for Miami. He has not looked all that great. He had one decent start. I think it was against Colorado, but his other two starts have been pretty bad. And then you have Michael Lorenzen here on the mound for the Phillies, his first start for his new team. If anything, I guess I slightly look at the Phillies, but I don't like a side in this game. What I do ultimately like is the 8.5 under. I like this to be a low-scoring game like we saw in Games 1 and in Games 2. Games 1 and 2 is what I'm trying to say. We saw a 9 to 8 extra inning game last night. I do think that this is a chance for two teams that could be, maybe slightly tired or coming off of a long game, and it's the last game before, they head out and play their new series. I could see this being sort of like a zombie walkthrough of a game. So give me the under 8.5 as my only true lean in this game. Like I said, if I had to pick a side, I guess I would lean towards the Phillies in this one, but I don't really like a side. I doubt that becomes a final play. If anything, it's going to be the under 8.5. All right, Texas taking on Chicago here. Max Scherzer suits up for the Rangers here, and he's pitching against Toussaint for the White Sox. So this one, obviously, the odds are very lopsided just due to the pitching discrepancy and the fact that maybe Texas is kind of getting back and using the series as a launching pad here. They win 2-0 game one, and then they win 11-1 last night. I do wish we ultimately pulled the trigger on that. That was our lean, but nonetheless, we did not. In terms of where we're leaning in this game, I am going to look at Texas, and I don't hate them on the run line. I do think Scherzer is going to be geared up, fired up, and ready to go. And the Chicago White Sox on the year just not batting righties all that well. And in their last 10, they've been even worse. 214 on the year, only averaging 3 runs per 9 against righties, where I do think Texas is going to be able to go off against Toussaint on the mound. So give me Texas on the run line. I wish we could have any sort of money line play, but yeah, those odds are just way too crazy for me. I think even minus 260 something as of right now on sportsbooks. It's even moving this morning. So give me Texas on the run line. In terms of the total, we're looking at a total of 9. I don't hate the under in this spot. I do think, however, you have a Texas team that can score a bunch of runs, but on the other hand, you're kind of looking at a team in which, I'm hoping Max Scherzer goes out there and shuts down one side. So I'm trusting Scherzer, trusting that this Texas offense used up a bunch of their runs yesterday, and this game can kind of finish in the 5-3 maximum type range. Okay, so give me Texas on the run line as well as the under. All right, next up we have Kansas City taking on the Mets, and this Mets team, I think, I don't know, is the wind just out of their sails? They became sellers. I don't even know what to make of this Mets team. They've lost 2 straight games here against Kansas City. Kansas City has won 6 of their last 10. That's not even the impressive part. They've won 5 straight games. That's including a sweep against Minnesota. So this has me puzzled. I do look at this and say, okay, the Mets have to take one in this series, right? They have to, or it's almost like, what are we doing for this season? So give me the Mets plus 100 on the money line here. Even odds on Caesars right now. I do think that there's value there. You have Carrasco going up against Brady Singer. I don't like either of these guys. Brady Singer has been better as of late. I can give credit where it is due there. In terms of his last 3 starts, he's got a 3.7 ERA, but he's kept the whip down at a 1 flat. So I do want to give credit there. I think that this is a spot in which, go ahead, bet the Royals. They could win because they have been winning, but it's a spot where you see the Mets at plus 100. And I just think you have to fade the Royals, but that hasn't been working as of late. So give me the Mets on the money line. I don't like the total at 9 either way. In terms of what we've seen in this series so far, 7-6 game, 4-0 game. Now you have 2 pitchers that, one of them is pitching well. I mean, I give, again, Singer credit, not letting guys on base, but Carrasco, letting up a bunch of guys on base and runs at the same time. Like, I could see this going over. But I think that my ultimate lean goes towards the under because I don't think these offenses are truly there. Even yesterday seems like a struggle for Kansas City to score 4 runs, okay? So give me the under as a slight lean. Main lean is going to be the Mets on the money line for decent odds here, even odds, plus 100, and the fact that they could just take at least 1 out of the 3 in this series. I don't know. Call me crazy. Let me know in the comments. Am I crazy that the Royals could just back-to-back sweep teams? Like, what world are we in, right? All right, Blue Jays taking on Baltimore here. Baltimore has their new pitcher, Jack Flaherty, going for them. Obviously a good pitcher, has had his ups and downs this season. In fact, his last 3 starts really haven't been his best, but prior to that, he was dealing. And then Kevin Gausman on the mound, who obviously we know is an absolute stud. He's only had 1 bad start, and even that bad start was only 4 earned runs, which is just outside of his norm there. So he's obviously dealing here. I do like the under right away in this game. I do think Jack Flaherty is going to pitch well against this Toronto offense. So give me the under 8. In terms of where I'm going in terms of a side in this game, it's tricky. You have Toronto here at minus 160-ish, which I don't think is unfair. Kevin Gausman obviously pitching really well, and he's had a good track record here in terms of what he's been doing lately. The thing that worries me is that you go back to May this season, he got kind of late, so he pitched 7 great innings in Baltimore and then blew up in his 8th inning. So you give him credit, but he went too long. So I don't think Toronto makes that mistake again. The guy dealt against the team and they just left him in there for too long, right? So I think that they learned from that. I like Toronto to win this game, but where I'm kind of splitting hairs here is I don't hate Baltimore keeping it close. In fact, we've seen these 2 games be fairly close, and yes, the scores may indicate 4-2, 4-1, but still very close games in a sense. So I think that this is one that we could middle, so I honestly mean that we could do it in as a final play. Toronto on the money line, Baltimore plus 1.5. You get minus 160 odds for Toronto on the money line. Yes, you're paying some juice, but Baltimore plus 1.5 for minus 145. In fact, I probably lean towards Baltimore more than anything because I do think Gausman's going to deal, but if this is going to be a low-scoring game like I think, and like we've seen so far in this series, I do think we have a lot of opportunity to kind of dink and dunk and keep the game close. So if I were to rank these, I think that I look at Baltimore, or excuse me, I rank them in terms of in my favorite to least favorite, but I do like them. Under Baltimore plus 1.5, and then Toronto money line. So could be a tweener type game, guys. I think this is going to be a good game and a little bit of a pitching duel as well. All right, San Francisco taking on Arizona. My only lean in this one, jump right to it, is going to be the over. I kind of thought that this would be an over series, and they're yet to broach that 8 number. So we've seen 3 straight unders. I do think this one is up to 9. In fact, you can get it at 8.5 over on DraftKings right now. So if we do like the over with me, that would be probably your best place to put it. And I also do think that, in a bunch of different sports books, it's going to be coming out. But I think that we've been waiting for this Arizona offense to score a decent amount of runs for probably, about 6 games now. The San Francisco offense had been giving you, and still have been giving you, about a floor of 4 runs, which you do like to see, and you have 2 pitchers on the mound today. So Brandon Fdat, and I know it's Fought. I know how to, or I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly, but I know that's not how you say it, guys. And then you have an opener on the mound for San Francisco. 2 guys that definitely can get rocked right away here. In terms of where the San Francisco bullpen has been too, they're really using their, when they have these, and they do, go to the openers a decent amount, that's going to kind of trigger a tax on the bullpen. But nonetheless, I don't even think that I'm really looking at this from these offenses have had the lids on for 3 straight games. I do think that they at some point, come out here and have a 5-4 game at minimum, and this is the last game where that opportunity is there, as it is the last game in the series. So give me the over 8.5. In terms of a side, I hate to do it. Maybe I back the Diamondbacks here for plus 124. If that gets in a rhythm, we've seen him pitch well a few times this season, but honestly, it has been a few times. It worries me. So give me the Diamondbacks on the money line if you're looking for a lean there. But I do think that over 8.5 is going to be my official lean in this game and my number 1 lean in this game. All right, guys, before we get to the second half of the slate, let me talk to you about Outlier, my favorite sports betting research tool. If you watch every day, you've heard about Outlier pretty much damn near every day, because I do love promoting this site because it is super, super helpful. In terms of what we're seeing now, they're making plenty of adjustments and upgrades like this right here, though. So this is obviously their player prop screen. You can go and dissect every player prop that's available on the 4 main sports books. But if we wanted to look at Chaz Chisholm Jr., right, over 0.5 bases, looks like he's trending in that direction. Let's go in here and look at this. All right, so first thing that we can look at is, okay, wow, he's hit this in 10 straight games. In his last 20 here, he's hit it in 14. But let's go back to his last 10 because that looks pretty. Chaz Chisholm Jr., right? Where is he at? Right here. He's batting 244 on the season against a righty, batting 281. Okay, now we have some progress, and this is the new feature, which is awesome, guys. You scroll down here, and you could see going up against Michael Lorenzen and Michael Lorenzen's pitch arsenal, which is very, very cool. You can see Chaz Chisholm Jr., versus that pitch arsenal. You can look at, okay, well, fastball and slider are the two main pitches for Lorenzen, right? Well, him against a fastball, him against a slider. You can see his stats here. You can also get them down here in terms of going up against Michael Lorenzen, going up against a right-handed pitcher for Chisholm, and going up against left-handed batter for Lorenzen. You can see the batting averages and the locations and the heat maps. It is an amazing, amazing tool that they have added. So go check out Outlier today, guys. That link is going to be in the description as well as the pinned comment. Definitely go check it out. You get a 7-day free trial. Go try it out for 7 days. You'll fall in love. It'll be the fastest falling in love that you ever experienced in your life. Go check it out, guys. All right, Milwaukee taking on Pittsburgh. Mitch Keller on the mound for Pittsburgh. Obviously, he's had a couple rough starts as of late, but if you kind of throw out the Cleveland and the LA Angels start, he has still looked pretty good, but the team has been playing well when he pitches. They're 0-5 in his last 5 starts. He's got a 4 ERA, but like I said, you're looking at a couple starts in which he just got batted around. Going up against Adrian Hauser, who is also a guy that, has good starts, but then a few bad starts as of late, most notably that Atlanta game, which I think was actually his most recent start, just a few days back. But I'm looking at this game saying, okay, where is the value? This Milwaukee team hasn't shown me the consistency that I would like to see, and in fact, they are just not batting the ball well overall as of right now. In their last 5 games here, from an average perspective, batting .207, and that stays pretty true when you look at it, them going up against a righty like Mitch Keller today, batting .211. So for that reason, I'm out on Milwaukee, and by default, I'm going to look at that plus money for Pittsburgh here at plus 115, but what I really do like is going to be the under 8.5. Now, Pittsburgh has been winning, I shouldn't say have been winning games, but they've taken 4 of their last 6 games. They've taken 3 of their last 4, but they're not doing it by scoring a bunch of runs. They had a couple decent games against Philly, but other than that, they're winning against Detroit 4-1, that type of thing. And they have Milwaukee on the other side that had that one big game against Washington, and the rest of that series, they scored 3 runs and 2 runs. So I think this is going to be a low-scoring game as long as neither one of these pitchers gets shelled. No kidding, but we're looking at it from that Milwaukee perspective. I don't necessarily think that they're going to get to Keller. So give me the under as my main lean in this game. And like I said, I am going to consider Pittsburgh on the money line. They've been playing better baseball. And in terms of how they're batting righties, 281 on the in the last 5 games here on the season. Right around 230 like both these teams, so not all that crazy. But nonetheless, give me Pittsburgh on the money line. I like the way they're batting righties right now. All right, Yankees taking on the Astros. Clark Schmidt on the mound for the Yankees. Christian Javier on the mound for the Astros here. And if you look at this, the Astros have won 9 of their last 10 against the Yankees, obviously dating back to 2022. And I like the Astros today again. I think that they have overall the better pitcher on the mound. I will give the credit where it's due. Clark Schmidt has been pitching better than Javier as of late. In their last 3 games here, Clark Schmidt looking at right around a 4 ERA, but a .96 whip. Not to say Christian Javier hasn't been good. His whip's been at 108. So I'm going to give a slight nod to Javier here, but if you like Schmidt over him, I'm not really going to argue on that one. I do just think that he is the better pitcher from a talent perspective. And then in terms of what we're looking at from an offensive perspective here, last 5 games here, there's a huge discrepancy against Astros versus righties and the Yankees versus righties here. And you could say, well, the Yankees beat Tampa Bay yesterday, but before that, their offense was like, you know what I mean? Like, they scored 7 or 8 runs against Baltimore. They also had a 3-run game, a 0-run game, a 3-run game, a 1-run game against Tampa Bay. Like, the offense has not been here, whereas this Astros team, every once in a while, they're popping off, scoring a decent amount of runs. So coming off a sweep against Cleveland as well. Give me them with the better pitcher. They bat righties better, which is what I was getting to here. Almost 7 runs per 9 in their last 5. I will say that does include a big time, obviously a big time game against, I think, who pitched for them, Hunter Brown, and then going up against Bradley, if I want to say, when they scored a bunch of runs against Tampa Bay. So average runs, hits, a little bit skewed, but still better than the Yankees. So Astros, 7 runs per game, 9 hits against righties here. And then in terms of an average, 288 in their last 5 here. Going up against the Yankees, which just kind of looks abysmal. Under 3 runs per 9 against righties, 230 average, right? So it's not all that great. So in terms of what we're looking at here, I like Astros on the money line, and we're looking at a total of 9. Now, both of these pitchers, like I said, I want to give the flowers. I want to give the credit. Clark Schmidt has been better, but both of these guys are still pitching right around that, 5 innings pitch mark and letting up, I don't want to say a minimum, but just about 3 runs over that stretch, okay? So if they go out there and say this is a 3-3 game after 5, I love the chances for an over and a couple late game runs. So give me the over 8.5 as well. It's on 9 on most sportsbooks, still 8.5 out there if you can't get it. Give me the over. All right, Cardinals taking on Minnesota. St. Louis gets the 7-2 win. Excuse me if I have that mixed up. Win yesterday, and then but Minnesota did get the win in Game 1, but that was a bounce back spot after losing 5 straight games. On the mound for St. Louis today is going to be Matthew Liberatore, who has had a couple bad starts, but honestly has shown flashes of like really good pitching. He's going up against Sonny Gray today, who has been fairly consistent. He's going to give you that 5 and change, maybe 6 innings or so with maybe 2 or 3 earned runs during that time. So I do like both of these pitchers today, which is why my first lean in this one's going to be the under 9. But what I'm looking at here is going to be the discrepancy from the offensive perspective. This Twins team, they're in a little bit of a rut right now, and when you say rut, it's especially true against lefties. In fact, it's been the way all season long, right? Only batting .217 against lefties on the year, only averaging 2.4 hits against lefties per 9, and then runs per 9, looking at a 3.2 runs per 9 there. It gets even worse when you kind of make the sample size smaller and smaller. So last 10 games here, they're averaging 1.1 runs per 9 against lefties and a 179 batting average with a 1.3 hit rate against lefties. Twins just don't hit lefties whatsoever. And you have the Cardinals here who are just kind of middle of the road against righties, but I'll take the Cardinals to win this one for plus money at home. You're looking at plus 120 and change. Like, I like the odds there. Sonny Gray I would give the credit to being a better pitcher than Liberatore, but in terms of how they've been performing recently, I think I'd kind of put them on a similar line. Like, they both have been, like I said, they've had better days lately. Like, they've had flashes, but also a couple bad starts, but you kind of know what you're going to get here. The whips have been all over the place. Whips have been all over the place for them, so I have no issues with St. Louis getting to Sonny Gray. Not so much, though, because we do have the under, but I do think that this Minnesota team is going to struggle against Liberatore just because he's pitching from the left side. Never mind that he hasn't been pitching as well as late. So give me the under 9 as a lean here, and then I like St. Louis on the money line. I know I said the under is probably my main lean, but they're pretty even here. I could see them both having a chance to be a final play. Keep an eye on the pinned comment. All right, Cubs taking on Cincinnati. I don't even know what to say about Cincinnati. They lose 20-9, and you're like, all right, well, they're not going to lose big again, right? They lose 16-6. Like, what are we doing here? Like, literally, what are we doing? So that was a tough one to swallow because Cincinnati did have a lead in that game. So did Philly, right? And those are 2 losses that we had to wear yesterday. But I like the Cubs today. I do think it's going to be a pretty public play, so that worries me a little bit because, you're looking at a Cubs team that obviously is just going off right now. And they have a pitcher in which I do think that they could fare well against today as well. So I am going to look at the Cubs. They're going up against Luke Weaver, who pitches from the right side. The Cubs are just crushing right now. They're crushing anyone they see. So obviously we're going to have some skewed data because of those last couple games, but those last couple games are still within the realm of possibility. They're playing the same team. In terms of the last 10, so even looking at and extrapolating it out to a bigger sort of sample size here, they're batting .350 against righties in their last 10. So give me the Cubs, minus 160, a little bit of juice to be paying here, but nonetheless, I just couldn't convince myself to take the Reds again after blowing it yesterday and looking at the Cubs in back-to-back games, absolutely dog-walking this Cincinnati team. It's like, nope, don't poop there. You're going to poop over there. And the dog just says, okay, I'll poop wherever you want me to poop. I'll pee wherever you want me to pee. You're the human. I'm the dog. In terms of a total, I think you have to look at the over just based on the Cubs offense and how well they've been playing right now. Cincinnati also just been getting a bunch of runs dunked on them. So I look at the over, but, having to digest and swallow a 10-run total may be a little tough in terms of making this a final play. All right, guys, if you do want to show your support, even though it was a bad night last night, that actually might be the best time to show your support because the haters and the guppies are alive and well. But if you do want to show your support and prove that you are a real one, consider picking some Fade Me merch up. We have tons of new products launching pretty much weekly right now, guys. A lot of great stuff out there, and I would not lie to you guys about the quality of this. It survives plenty of washes. Really nice, thick sort of, washed material, which is great. It's pre-shrunk. It's not going to shrink on you unless you put the dryer to 1,000,000 degrees, right? But nonetheless, I do think that, this is a good opportunity to wait till late in the video to say 2 things. Go pick up merch if you do want to show your support and prove the guppies wrong. We're going to show our face even after losing nights, right? Kind of back to the rant at the beginning of this video. I'm going to show my face after losing nights because I love doing this. I love the community we're building. So on that note, 2 things, like I said. go pick up some merch if you do support, and go ahead and drop 24 in the comments if you are still watching, guys, because I could see it. Last night, you know, we have, what, 26,000 subscribers? Maybe we lose them all overnight because there's a bunch of guppies out there hitting that subscribe button, but I know the real ones are not guppies. So go ahead, drop 24 in the comments if you are still watching, and just screw the guppies. Screw them. You know what I'm saying? But we're moving on here. We got the Seattle Mariners taking on the LA Angels here. On the mound for the Angels today is going to be Shohei Ohtani, which, you know, he had one bad start. I think it was against Pittsburgh recently, but other than that, he's been pitching okay. I think he had another bad one in his last 6 starts or so. Going up against Brian Woo, who had definitely a bad start, flashing back to that Minnesota game, but wow, it's weird that Minnesota offense so bad now, yet Woo struggled against them. In terms of where we're leaning in this game, I do think that this is a value spot for the Mariners. I don't hate it if you are on the Angels. I'm not trying to convince you otherwise in this spot because, you know, Shohei Ohtani on the mound, anything can happen. Good pitcher, right? But he hasn't really been all that great as of late. Now, his all isn't all that great. It's still a 4 flat ERA in his last 3 with a .93 whip. You know what I mean? Like, he's still pitching. Like, so many guys, this is not great, and so many guys would want those stats. Going up against Brian Woo, who has been struggling as of late. So that's why I'm like, if you're on the Angels, go for it, but I just can't really get behind a -154 against the -154 on the Angels here, especially when I just don't trust either of these offenses altogether. But Seattle has been batting better than the Angels have, so give me Seattle for +135 again. It's a true value play. And then in terms of the total 8.5 runs, you look at where these teams have been recently against each other. You're looking at a couple different overs, couple different unders. They're 6 and 4 in the last 10 against one another, but both these teams are very flat when it comes to what they're scoring. In fact, the Seattle in the last 10 games with other opponents, right? 5 and 5 for the over under, and then the Angels 4 and 6 to it. So I guess I slightly lean towards the under, but really main value here is going to be Seattle. And in terms of, you know, if you do want to back Ohtani, which is never a bad move, you could lean towards, or you could go ahead and play the Angels. I'm here to tell you that I like Seattle. I'm not here to tell you that you shouldn't like the Angels. All right, Dodgers taking on the Athletics. Last night went just about like we would think, 10-1. Dodgers win that one, so I don't see any value in a side here. Even the Dodgers -1.5 is -125. I don't like that because I think this could be a game. Mark my words, I doubt it becomes a final play, but I do think this could be a game in which Oakland keeps this close, just because the Dodgers don't bat lefties all that well. Neither do the Oakland Athletics, for what it's worth, but that's kind of the point here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that this is going to be a super high scoring game, and if it is a lower scoring game, I do think maybe Oakland can kind of keep it close, so don't take that as a true lean. I doubt that becomes a final play, but I could see that being the case. But kind of on that note, I do like the under 8.5 here. Obviously, you have a Dodgers team that can score a bunch of runs at any given moment, and I'm not going to deny that, but it's kind of telling that you had game number 1 in this series at a 9, right, in terms of a total. Obviously, they go over that. Dodgers win 7-3. Then yesterday was 9.5. 10-1, right? And now you have 2 pitchers on the mound that you'd argue are probably better than maybe the pitchers that you got yesterday. You could make that argument. I'm not saying it's the case. And that jumps down to 8.5. It's because you know what you're getting from these bats when it comes to batting the left side. So give me the under 8.5 in this one as maybe probably the only true final play that we could pull the trigger on. And that is all we have for you guys today on the show. Hope you guys did enjoy it. And hopefully we have a little bit better of a track record coming into tomorrow and talking about tonight's plays, because last night, one last time, I deserve it. I deserve it. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys were banging down my door trying to get to me because it was such a bad day yesterday. But nonetheless, guys, the real ones are going to be real, and the guppies are going to gup. That is a damn t-shirt waiting to happen, right? Real ones are going to be real. The guppies are going to gup. And I understand that. You know, I signed up for this. When we have a bad betting night, we got to show face on the camera, right? Got to show face on the camera. We can't just celebrate the wins if we're not going to, you know, bathe in the crap of the losses. But nonetheless, guys, hope you guys did enjoy today's video. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.